The ground shook beneath the quiet forest near the abandoned Earth outpost. Birds scattered, trees swayed, and the sky cracked with the roar of a ship tearing through the atmosphere. With a burst of light and smoke, the vessel crashed into the mossy earth, carving a path of destruction through the tall pines. Inside the wreckage, the emergency lights blinked in slow rhythm. Lying among the sparks and metal, a human stirred, groaning, injured, but alive. His name was Noren, a technician assigned to maintain Earth's now-forgotten border tech. He'd been rerouting old satellite signals when the unidentified ship slammed into the zone, catching him in its blast radius. He awoke hours later with a throbbing pain in his side and his leg pinned under debris. Somewhere deeper in the crashed vessel, movement stirred. Soft steps approached, cautious and delicate. Out of the haze stepped a tall figure, cloaked in flowing silver cloth, her eyes glowing faintly teal in the dim light. Her skin shimmered like moonlight on still water, and she moved with careful grace. Her name was Iyara, a field medic from the Varelli species, visitors from a far world, studying Earth in secret. She hadn't meant to crash. The navigation was damaged mid-jump, and now she was stranded on a world she'd only read about in her databanks. When Iyara saw Noren lying among the wreckage, unconscious and bleeding, she gasped quietly. A human. A living, breathing human. Her kind were told humans were extinct, or at least scattered and unreachable. Yet here one was. Large, injured, and radiating heat. She moved closer, hesitant but drawn. Her training kicked in. She knelt beside him, running a scanner gently. Over his body, vital signs, unstable but strong. Bone fracture, swelling around the midsection. Oh, stars, she whispered, eyes widening. That region is swollen. She scanned again. No infection, no foreign object, just swelling, and a strange energy buildup she didn't understand. Her fingers hovered over the spot, unsure. "Should I touch it?" she whispered, voice trembling with both fear and fascination. "Will he wake up if I do?" She wasn't prepared for him to groan. Iyara flinched back. His eyes opened halfway, dazed but focused. On her. For a moment, neither moved. He took in her face, her luminescent features, the way her fingers hovered protectively over him. "You're not human," he murmured weakly. "You are," she replied softly. They stared. Where am I?" he asked, coughing lightly. "You're injured." "My ship, we crashed. You were caught in it." Iyara looked down, concerned. "You have internal swelling. I don't know if your species—" Noren gave a weak smile. "That's normal, kinda, but hurts like hell. You say that like—" "It's fine," Iyara said, still not pulling her hand away. Her fingers finally rested against the swollen spot, carefully. Noren flinched, and she drew back instantly. "Did I hurt you?" she asked. "No, just surprised. You're warm." Iyara tilted her head. "So are you." He tried to sit up, gritting his teeth. Iyara stopped him with a gentle hand on his chest. "No. Don't move yet. Your body needs stabilizing." "You a doctor?" he asked, voice raspy. "I'm a Varelian. Medic class. My mission was observation, not healing humans." "You're doing all right," he said, smiling through pain. She blinked, confused by his words, but found herself oddly pleased. "Thank you. I am not used to compliments." Noren's gaze softened. "And I'm not used to aliens touching my swollen parts." Iyara flushed a soft glow of violet. "I was trying to help." "I know," he chuckled weakly. "And I'm grateful." Iyara sat beside him, scanning again. The swelling wasn't dangerous, but it fascinated her. Human biology wasn't fully mapped in her archives. But more than that, something about him pulled at her curiosity. His breath was uneven. His eyes closed again. She watched him for a long moment. This human was strange. Warm, humorous even in pain, and somehow comforting. Outside, wind howled through the trees. Inside the wreck, a fragile calm settled between them. She placed a thermal blanket over his chest and leaned beside him, whispering softly, "Don't worry. I will keep you safe." For the first time since the crash, Noren slept deeply, and Iyara, watching over him, touched his hand, wondering why her pulse quickened every time she did. Iyara spent the night monitoring every flicker of the human's vitals, watching his chest rise and fall with each breath. Her ship's systems had stabilized just enough to provide temporary power to the medical tools. The lights glowed softly, casting a warm hue across his face. He looked peaceful now, even with the bruises and cuts. She didn't sleep. Varelians didn't need much rest, but something else kept her awake. Curiosity, a strange warmth, and a gentle pull inside her chest. She kept glancing at his hand, where her fingers had brushed earlier. That odd spark of contact still lingered in her memory. Was that normal between species? No data explained this reaction. Noren stirred just before dawn. His eyes opened slowly, and when they met hers, he smiled weakly. "You're still here." "Of course. I couldn't leave you alone in this state." He looked around the broken ship. "How bad is it?" "The crash damaged the primary drive and comms. I can repair some of it, but I need time and your cooperation." Noren tried to sit again, slower this time. She moved closer, placing her hands on his shoulders, steadying him. Her touch was soft, but firm. "Easy." He grinned despite himself. "You've got a gentle touch for a medic." Her expression flickered with something between embarrassment and amusement. "I was taught to be precise, not tender." "You're doing both." Iyara looked away, unsure how to respond. Varelians rarely received compliments, and certainly not from humans. But the warmth in his voice felt sincere. Noren stretched slightly, wincing. "Still swollen." Iyara's eyes went wide. "Yes, I noticed. I reviewed your structure again. The swelling, it's not dangerous, but its purpose confuses me." He laughed, which turned into a cough. "Let's just say human biology can surprise you sometimes." She leaned in slightly, her gaze focused. "I want to learn. May I examine it more?" "Closely?" He raised an eyebrow. "You mean right now?" "For medical study," she clarified quickly, voice flustered. "To understand what is normal for you and what may require treatment." He blinked, amused. "You're very serious about this." "Always," she said, folding her hands in her lap. Noren nodded and lifted the blanket covering his lower torso. Iyara reached for a thin glove and slipped it onto her fingers, but her hands trembled slightly. This wasn't just about anatomy anymore. There was something else. A strange flutter in her core, a reaction she hadn't trained for. She placed her hand gently on his abdomen, just above the swelling. The heat of his body seeped through the glove. Her fingers moved slowly, testing for firmness, pain response, and pulse fluctuations. "You're very warm," she said softly. "I could say the same." She paused, glancing up at him. His face was flushed, his breath uneven, but not from pain. Her eyes narrowed in curiosity. "Your temperature rises when I touch you." "Why?" Noren gave a half smile. "That's not a medical condition. That's a reaction." "To you?" Iyara tilted her head. "A reaction to me? You're close and pretty. That does things to human biology." Her hand stilled. "Pretty?" "Yes." "Beautiful. Even." Iyara's throat tightened. She'd never been called that. Not once. Among her kind, appearance was functional, not praised. But hearing it from him made her cheeks glow faint purple. She gently removed her hand and pulled, the blanket back over him. Then I will try not to overheat you. Too late, he said, grinning. Iyara stood, flustered, moving to the console to check the ship's repair status. Her mind buzzed with confusing thoughts. Her people had observed humans from afar, studied their wars, their art, their survival instincts. But they never spoke of this emotional chaos that came with closeness. He was just a patient. And yet, when she looked at him, her chest felt tight, and her fingers ached to touch him again, not for science, but for something else entirely. Behind her, Noren shifted on the cot. "What's your name again?" "Iyara." "Iyara," he repeated slowly, like he wanted to taste every part of it. "That's a nice name. Suits you." She turned toward him, her lips parting slightly. "And yours is Noren?" "Yeah. Not as poetic, huh?" "It is now," she said quietly. Their eyes met again. Outside, the forest remained quiet. Inside, the ship, a storm of something new was building, unspoken, soft, and dangerously sweet. And deep within Iyara's chest, her heart beat a little faster each time he looked at her. Smoke from the crash had faded, replaced by the fresh scent of pine and rain-soaked earth. The forest around the ship was calm, but inside, tension lingered, gentle, strange, and impossible to ignore. Iyara was running diagnostics when Noren tried standing again. She rushed over, alarmed. "You shouldn't push yourself. I can't lie here forever," he muttered, gripping the edge of a metal panel. "Gotta move or I'll turn into mush." She steadied him, hands on his waist. His body leaned against hers for balance, and just like before, warmth bloomed where they touched. Noren inhaled slowly, the closeness catching him off guard. Her scent, soft, floral, and faintly electric, filled his senses. Iyara didn't speak. She was focused, but her grip stayed a moment longer than necessary. She led him to a cushioned panel and helped him sit. "Thank you," he said, watching her. "You really care." "I was trained to care." "No," he said gently. "This feels like more than that." Iyara blinked. "I don't understand." "You stay close. You hold me like I'm precious." She hesitated. Her hands fidgeted with the edge of her tunic. "You are. I've never met a human before. You're not just data or a myth. You're real. You speak. You feel pain. You laugh. And I flirt," he added with a grin. She tilted her head. "Yes, that part is distracting." He chuckled and leaned back. "Do Varelians flirt?" "Our culture does not prioritize personal bonding during missions. We form neural pairings through ceremonial links, not through verbal exchanges or touch." "That sounds very technical," Noren said. "I prefer the old-fashioned way. You talk, you smile, you get close. And eventually, someone touches someone and everything gets confusing." Iyara stared at him, expression unreadable. Then she surprised him. She sat beside him, barely an inch between their bodies. "I wish to understand this confusion better." He turned to her, heartbeat rising. "You do?" "Yes. But not just for study. I feel drawn to you. My skin reacts when you speak. My pulse speeds up when you smile. I cannot ignore it anymore." Noren swallowed, his voice soft. "Then don't." Iyara reached up slowly, brushing her fingers along his jaw. He didn't move. Her touch was light as wind, but it made him shiver. "Your face is coarse," she whispered, "but pleasant, and your eyes, why do they stay on me like that?" "Because you're beautiful, Iyara, and because I can't believe someone like you would ever look at me this way." She leaned closer, curious. "What way?" "Like you want to kiss me," he said, barely above a whisper. Iyara's breath hitched. "Is that allowed between us? There's no law here. Just feeling." She paused. Then, slowly, deliberately, she leaned in and touched her lips to his. It was soft at first, uncertain, exploratory. Her lips were cool and smooth, tasting faintly of metal and some alien sweetness. Noren responded gently, resting his hand on her waist, not pushing, just holding her like something fragile. When they pulled apart, Iyara's eyes were wide with wonder. That was not in any medical manual. No, Noren smiled. That was just human. She traced her finger over her lips, stunned. I feel dizzy. That's the good kind, he said. Their moment was interrupted by a faint beep from the console. Iyara stood, flustered but composed. The power grid is holding. We have at least 2 days before it fails. Then we've got 2 days, Noren said. Just you and me. She looked back at him, her voice quieter. I would like that. He nodded. Me too. As she turned back to her console, he watched. Her move, graceful, glowing faintly in the dim light. Not just an alien medic anymore. Not just a rescuer. She was someone unexpected. Someone whose touch made him forget the pain. Whose lips made him feel alive in a way he hadn't in years. Outside, birds sang under the gray morning light. Inside, the air between them was filled with something new, something fragile and burning quietly beneath every glance. That night the ship was quiet except for the soft hum of emergency lights. Iyara had dimmed them, saying that Noren needed rest. But he wasn't tired. Neither was she. They sat near the rear of the cabin, on a blanket she'd folded over the cold metal floor. She had made tea from native forest herbs, carefully filtered and tested before brewing. When she handed him the warm cup, their fingers touched again. This time neither pulled away. It's earthy, he said after a sip. Iyara watched him with quiet pride. You're the first human to try Varelian-style preparation on another world. Well, he smiled, I trust you. Her expression softened. That means much to me. He watched her from the side. In the dim glow, her skin shimmered slightly, like silver silk. Her long lashes cast faint shadows. And when she looked, up something unspoken passed between them. Noren set the cup down. Iyara, back when I was a kid, I used to stare at the stars and wonder what was out there. If someone was staring back. Now, you're sitting here, drinking tea with me. I used to look down at Earth and wonder if humans were as wild and emotional as our record suggested. You've proven they are. But you've also shown warmth, humor, softness. That's rare among my kind. He chuckled. We're a mess. But we love deeply, fiercely. She looked at him for a long moment. Then I want to feel what that's like. Just once. No data, no procedure, just what it's like to be held. By you. His heart jumped. He didn't speak, just nodded, slowly opening his arms. She crawled closer, hesitantly at first, then eased into his embrace, folding her limbs around him like she belonged there. Her cheek rested on his chest, where she could hear the strong rhythm of his heart. This sound, she whispered. I've read about it. It comforts. Why? He stroked her back slowly. It's a sign I'm alive, that I'm here, that I care. Her fingers pressed lightly against his shirt, feeling each thud beneath her palm. Your heartbeat, it reacts to me. I can feel it. Because you're close, closer than anyone's been in a long time. She tilted her head and looked up at him. Her eyes glowed faintly in the shadows. Then can I stay close? Just for... Tonight? Please do, he whispered, brushing a strand of her pale hair behind her ear. They laid down together, fitting like puzzle pieces on the narrow blanket. Her body was cool and smooth, while his was warm and solid. Their breaths slowly synced, rising and falling in quiet rhythm. Iyara's hand rested over his chest, her thumb tracing lazy circles. "When I return to my world," she murmured, "I will remember this night more than any mission." He didn't answer right away. A lump formed in his throat. "I don't want you to go," he finally said. "I know," she whispered. "Part of me doesn't want to either." There was a pause, heavy with all the things neither of them could say. Words like stay and mine and forever hovered on their lips, but they were too fragile for a night like this. Instead, he pressed a kiss to her forehead. "Then let's pretend the world doesn't exist. Just for now." She nodded and closed her eyes, her body relaxing fully into his. Outside, rain began to fall, light and steady. Inside, they found warmth in each other. Two souls from different worlds, bound not by logic or rules, but by a quiet, growing ache that neither of them wanted to let go of. By morning, the rain had stopped. Sunlight broke through the canopy, golden and gentle, slipping through cracks in the ruined hull. The air felt new, washed, as if the world had paused to witness something rare. Iyara stirred in Noren's arms. Her eyes opened slowly, adjusting to the soft light, her hand still resting on his chest. For a moment she didn't move. She just listened to his heartbeat, steady and real beneath her fingers. "You're still here," she whispered. He smiled, sleepily. "Didn't plan on going anywhere." Iyara sat up slightly, her hair tousled and glowing in the morning light. "There is something I must tell you." Noren propped himself up on one elbow. "What is it?" "I received a transmission during the night. A retrieval team is on its way. They'll arrive by sundown." He blinked. "So soon?" She nodded. "My people will repair the ship. I will be taken back to Varelia. My mission is over." The silence between them turned heavy. He sat up fully, his fingers brushing against hers. "And what about this?" he asked. "What we shared last night. Was it just curiosity to you?" "No," she said quickly. "It was real, more real than anything I've studied or learned. You awakened something inside me, Noren, something my people tried to suppress." He took her hands, gripping them gently. "Then don't let them take it away. Stay." Her eyes shimmered, uncertain. "I want to. But if I stay without clearance, I'll be exiled, cut off, forever." He was silent, staring at her, pain creeping into his voice. "And if you go, we may never see each other again." Iyara lowered her head. "That is what frightens me most." They sat in stillness, the weight of time pressing down. But then Noren's gaze hardened, not with anger, but with determination. "Then come with me, not as a medic, not as a visitor. As someone choosing to live on Earth, with me." She blinked. "You'd do that? Let me stay even if it causes problems?" "I don't care about the problems. I care about you." Iyara's breath hitched. Her eyes softened, then filled with tears, glowing softly, like pearls catching sunlight. "I came here thinking I'd study humanity. But now, I want to be part of it. With you." He smiled, pulling her into a tight embrace. "Then stay. We'll figure everything else out." Just then, a sharp beep echoed from the console. The retrieval ship had entered orbit. Iyara pulled away slightly, eyes filled with conflict. "I have to respond, but maybe not in the way they expect." She moved to the console, typing quickly. Noren stood beside her, watching the alien glyphs flicker and shift. "I've sent a message," she said quietly. "I told them the terrain was unstable, that recovery is impossible. I cited atmospheric interference and a personal medical emergency." He raised an eyebrow. "That'll buy time." "Enough," she said, turning to face him. "Enough to begin something new." They stood together, sunlight warming their skin. She touched his face again, her hand lingering. "Your expression It's full of feeling. That's love, he said softly. Iyara leaned in, pressing her forehead to his. Then I wish to feel it. Every day. Their lips met again, not in urgency this time, but in promise. A silent vow made between two hearts that were never meant to meet, but did anyway, and refused to let go. Far above, the retrieval ship drifted away. And deep in the forest, surrounded by the ruins of fate, a human and an alien held each other. No longer medic and patient, no longer alien and earthling, just two souls, swollen with something too big for words, and this time, neither asked if they should touch. They already knew the answer, the end. The